Yeah. So, very warm welcome to all our partners, colleagues, and team Bajaj for spending your time today evening. We have a very special guest with us today, Saurabh Gupta. So, he's basically a fund manager of Bajaj Finserv. Saurabh Gupta is an investment professional with over more than 2 decades of experience in the Indian equity market across the fund management, research, and asset allocation. He has managed India dedicated long only equity mandate for some of the world's largest institution as well as retail equity scheme of domestic mutual fund. Saurabh have been a part of the domestic mutual fund industry for over 12 years. He has leveraged his rich learnings gained through regular interaction with global pension funds and sovereign wealth funds to develop tools and processes and then incorporated them in fund management for domestic equity mutual fund schemes. He has also worked on developing methods for integrating ESG frameworks with traditional methods of investment and research. He is a qualified chartered accountant and also chartered holder of the CFA Institute USA. So today he is going to focus on the topic which is NFO, which is based on consumption theme. So Bajaj Finserv are basically coming up with the consumption theme. So he will be definitely focusing his discussion on the consumption fund. So thank you and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening to all the viewers, and thank you, the JM team, to giving us an opportunity to explain our fund. Please bear with me, my bad throat. I'm having a bad cold, but I'll try my best to make you understand what we are trying to do with this fund. Bajaj Finserv Consumption Fund, the NFO, which started on 8th and is ending on November 22nd. Uh, Before kind of Q&A, maybe I'll walk you through some presentation slides which will help you get through the message. From a consumption's perspective, consumption is one topic or where investors or anybody whom we talk to feel very related because most of us are part of that whole consumption theme that is going around in this country. To set the ball rolling, private consumption, which we are going to talk about, is close to 60 or 65% of India's GDP right now. So, if country's GDP has to grow, the consumption definitely has to grow. But within consumptions, there is a lot of evolution that happens from time to time. So definitely the whole of consumption, which is 65% of the GDP, is not something which we'll be focusing on in this fund. But our focus will be some pockets of certain mega trends within that consumption, which help us identify opportunities where certain companies operate with much faster growth rates and better cash flows. Now, to get the things a little more in terms of perspective, let us understand what is the opportunity that we are talking about here. So let us look at India's total AC installation. It is about 6 crores. To put that in perspective, Italy's whole population is 6 crores. And despite such a large pool of AC installation in India, its penetration in India is less than 10%. Let's talk about India's online food ordering customer base, which would be around 14 crores by FY27, uh, which will be equal to Russia's whole population. And mind you, despite there's such a large base of people ordering online, uh, most of the food delivery bigger companies in India operate not more than beyond 100 cities. So there is a lot of opportunity lying there. Let's look at number of cars plying in India. There will be 3 crores cars which will be plying in Indian roads by 2030, which is equal to Canada's population, which is 3 crores. But the car penetration in India is 30 cars per 1,000 people, one of the lowest in the world, right? So huge opportunity for car penetration to rise in India. Look at number of health insurance in India, which is just paltry 5 crores, which is equal to Myanmar's population. But look at the base of 145 crore people, of which only 5 crore have health insurance. Only 10 crore have credit cards, which is equal to Vietnam's population. Uh, in India, around 18 crore passengers fly all airlines every year, which is equal to Bangladesh population. But mind you, this also includes repeat passengers, people like you and me who take 6, 7 flights a year, or maybe 10 flights a year. The fact is that 90% of this country's population has yet to step on an airplane. That is the opportunity lying in front of us. Mutual fund investors, 5 crores unique mutual fund investors in India. This is equal to Colombia's population of 5 crores. So huge opportunity for AUM growth in mutual fund as well. So within the consumption, we are looking at four big mega trends which we will be investing on. One is consume more. As prosperity rise, as people are aware, people tend to increase penetration and frequency of consumption of certain things. Excuse me. Now, let's look at eating out habit. We generally eat out, most of us, once in a week at least. 5 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, that frequency of eating out was not more than once or twice in 6 months. As the prosperity rise, as the need arose, the frequency of consumption of eating food outside of home has increased. Similarly, look at footwear consumption in India, which is two per capita. Every average Indian person owns just two footwear. But as the prosperity rise, more and more people will have 5, 6, 7 footwears, right? So increasing penetration and frequency of consumption of few things will drive a lot of growth in certain items. Second is consume better, which is premiumization. So classic example here would be, look at the car sales in India. Car sales in India above 1500 cc in the last 3 years is growing at 25% every year, whereas below 1500 cc cars, which are smaller cars, are growing, uh, are almost flat for last 3 years, right? Look at the long-term trend in two-wheelers, how it happened, how premiumization played out in India. Between 1990 to 2000, it was a 100 cc bike which grew the fastest. Between 2000 to 2010, it was the 150 cc bike which grew the fastest. From 2010 to 2020, it was a 250 cc bike which grew the fastest. And now you see more and more bikes of 500 cc, 600 cc coming in India. It's all the story of premiumization that is playing out, and every company which is sweetly placed in that specific segment, which is seeing a premiumization, tends to grow much faster and create much more wealth for investors. Consume well, a huge, huge mega trend. Look around us, how conscious people are becoming about their health, about the quality of food they intake. The organic food opportunity is growing much faster than overall food consumption in India. People are focusing on organic food, protein, nutrients, all those things. So this is also a very fast growing segment where we will be focusing upon. Consume easy, convenience. That is also a very, very important mega trend that is emerging. People want everything at a click of a button at their house, whether it's a bread, uh, eggs, or anything. For example, this Dhanteras, I myself bought a gold coin through online in 15 minutes. That's the importance of convenience that we are going to see all around us, and companies providing us that convenience is something which will do very well. So these are the four mega trends that we are looking at: consume more, consume better, consume well, and consume easy. So that 65% of the GDP, which will grow at 9-10%, within that, these four segments and the companies playing out in these four segments will grow much faster, and we will look at creating a portfolio benefiting from this mega trend. We also need to understand what is driving this. Increase in per capita income, definitely most important trigger for the four mega trends that I talked about. If you look at a typical consumption basket of a typical Indian and how RBI defines it, 40% of that consumption basket goes into food. In 2015, the consumption basket of an average Indian, average Chinese, had 30% food, and now it is 19%. In US, the consumption basket has just 13% food. As you prosper, as you grow, You don't necessarily spend a lot more or start to eat a lot more, right? But you're left with much more money, and you try to spend on your luxuries, your premiumization, your convenience, and that drives a lot of growth in different segments. Second is the availability of credit. Just walk into a Chroma or a Vijay Sales and see most of the products do not have an MRP tag these days. They have EMI tags. People upscale themselves looking at EMI. Instead of buying a 40-inch TV because they can afford via EMI, they will move to a 60-inch TV. That results in a lot of uh, premiumization that happens around us and is happening around us. Wealth effect, again, a very, very positive attribute of what is happening in terms of consumption in India. As asset inflation has and as equity markets goes up, people who have invested in equities, mutual fund, lands, other assets have that wealth effect because the assets value go up, they feel a lot rich and they feel comfortable spending a lot more money. Falling price in technology. If the price of a RAM or the memory card were the same as 10 years ago, or the price of a data package which was 10 years ago would remain the same right now, you would not see the advent of online food, online cab, and online businesses so fast. So, falling price in technology is also extremely important for consumption to grow. Now, the question to be asked is why to look at consumption now? If you look at the crowd or the majority folk has in the last 2.5, 3 years, capex defense PSU stories have given you a lot of return, and a lot of people have been focusing still on those categories. Consumption has been ignored, but it's a very strong growth story going ahead. The valuations relative to their own history in terms of consumption stocks are attractive, and also relative to market, they are attractively valued. Especially post the general elections, what we have seen is government spending on social has increased versus the capital expenditure which the government was doing in last 3 years. More and more state governments are giving freebies to people, where people will are getting motivated to spend more. This is acting as catalyst of earning upgrades in the consumption stocks in the near term. So we have a set of companies which are great companies, great brands, valued at attractive valuations versus their own history and broader markets, and catalyst now emerging. All these things put together make consumption a great story, a great place, a great continent bit right now. So what kind of companies will come into this? Long growth cycle. Now most people feel consumptions or staples or FMCGs are non-cyclical. However, we beg to differ. All businesses are cyclical. Some are long cyclical, some are short cycle, some are deep cycle, some are shallow cycle. So consumption is a long growth cycle which one needs to be invested to benefit from the consumption that is going around us in the country. These companies have strong competitive advantage, very strong balance sheets, very high cash flows, dividends, lower volatility, and lower drawdowns, especially in the times of volatility. And I'll show you how it works. Just moving forward in the interest of time. Now look at the saffron line, which has given you better return, which is the Nifty India Consumption Index vis-a-vis Nifty 500 index. Now look at the drawdowns. In 2008, which was the GFC crisis, the Nifty 500 fell by 64%, while Nifty India Consumption Index fell by 53%, a good 11% outperformance in a falling market. Similar is the story in COVID. Nifty 500 fell much more than Nifty India Consumption Index. So you get better returns and you get even better risk adjusted returns in the consumption funds because these are great companies, great brands, strong balance sheets, and strong cash flow companies. So maybe I would stop here, and if there are questions that you want to ask, I'll be happy to take. Before that, just to summarize, this will be a flexi cap fund, true to label consumption fund, investing in consumption megatrends, and targeting future profit pool of companies. Yeah, so I'll stop here. And if you have questions for me, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir, once again. So it was a wonderful presentation, and I'm sure all our partners have already taken their takeaways. So we have received few questions. So I would just display it for everybody's comfort. So just give me a minute.
Oh, should I answer the question?
Yeah, I'll just read out for everybody's
Sure.
comfort. I'm just
Okay.
making this a full screen. Wait a minute. Yeah. Is it now visible? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So my first question to you is, what is the core investment strategy of Bajaj Finserv Consumption NFO, and how does it aim to capitalize on the consumption trend in the Indian market?
Sure, a wonderful question. Our core strategy is to identify megatrends, and the four megatrends that I talked about: consume better, consume more, consume in terms of spend on convenience. All these things we would be focusing on in terms of megatrends, and we aim to capitalize those faster growing sub opportunities within the consumption basket and create a portfolio where the investor benefits from faster growth and great quality companies.
Yeah, thank you for the precise answer. So my next question to you is, which sector will the fund focus on within the consumption theme? How will the allocation to this sector will be managed over a time?
Sure. So, consumption is a very, very broad theme. So, let us start with the process of elimination. The fund won't be investing in IT. The fund won't be investing in banking, oil and gas, and pure pharma. Besides that, lot of consumption opportunities that emerge in terms of wellness, in terms of FMCG or staples, in terms of consumer technologies, in terms of hospitality and real estate. All these are consumption items, and definitely autos also, consumer durables. So a very broad spectrum. Within that broad spectrum, whatever fits our megatrend, four megatrends that I talked about, we will be investing and we'll try to generate alpha from those investments. From an allocation to these sectors, the opportunity will be decided based on the strength of the megatrend and the valuations, and we'll also be focusing on the near-term catalyst, wherein we ensure that there is an earning upgrade cycle in each of these companies, which will drive the equity returns for the investors.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing the clarification. So moving to next. Yeah, my next question to you is, who is the ideal investor for this NFO? Are there specific risk profile or investment goals that align well with this fund?
Absolutely. This NFO is somebody who is a consumer in this country, and we all are. So it will be a great NFO for people who consume. So by this, their own consumption, people like them who consume, and the companies who benefit are part of this NFO and this fund. And because these companies grow, you theoretically get your money back on what you are consuming. Effectively, your own beneficiary of your own consumption. So a very broad spectrum of people, anybody who is an equity investor with more than 3 year view and believes in India consumption story and they are consumer themselves should look at this fund from a longer term perspective.
Yes, very well said. So, ideally, anybody who is willing to put their money in equity, they all can invest in this NFO. Thank you so much. Moving to next. Why was this fund a good time to launch a consumption focused NFO? And how does Bajaj Finserv view the current and future potential for this growth in this sector?
As I highlighted during my presentation, the crowd is overreacting on the PSUs and the defense and B2B businesses, order book driven businesses over last 2.5, 3 years. We believe the element of positive surprise on earnings are far better placed in the consumption basket right now. These consumption stocks are available at much attractive valuations compared to their own history and also the broader market. So this is a great time to be a bit contrarian and look at consumption. Consumption as a theme, it represents India's 65-70% of India's GDP with a very large young population and an aspirational population in the country. We believe consumption as a theme will grow very, very well and is a future potential to create a lot of returns for investors. So we believe this is the right time to look at consumption where valuations are attractively placed. And also from a growth, we have a very, very long leeway for growth for this segment, consumption.
Yeah, so Saurabh, this is my personal question to you is there are many consumption themes flowing in the market currently. So
Yes.
just because of this panic which is happening in the market, so as you all can track the performance of the market, it is quite fluctuative at this point in time. So if somebody is exiting from the consumption theme at this point of time, do you have any message to those investors they should stop their redemption?
uh, our general view is always helps to think a bit contrarian. Let's go
Yeah.
back to 2020. If you are standing in
Mhm.
2020 and look back, nobody would be an investor of a value strategy. In fact, people were very tired of the value strategy and a value category, and there was a sharp 3 year underperformance in value, and everybody was running after stocks which were quality, and a lot of consumption names came into those categories, right?
Mm.
Standing today, after 3.5, 4 years of that period, look back in history and see value funds have done the best in their 10-year history in the last 3.5 years, right?
Yeah,
So clearly, it always helps to be a little more contrarian in equity market, especially when you look at valuations. These set of companies in consumption are very, very attractively valued right now. Patience is a key in investing. Valuations are extremely important, and buying quality companies at great price is not something which comes very, very quickly, right? So we believe it's a good combination to own right now. It's a great time to create a consumption portfolio from a 3 to 5 years perspective. Instead of exiting, one should move into consumption right now.
certainly. So if anybody is entering in the consumption thing, so ideally they should be waiting for long term.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the precise answer. Moving to next. So how does Bajaj Finserv perceive the long-term potential of the consumption sector in India, and what trends or structural changes might impact this outlook?
Look, as I told that consumption is 65-70% of India's GDP. And if nominal GDP has to grow at 9 to 10%, which has been the historical rate, and which we believe will be the growth rate in future, this is the growth rate that we'll see in consumption also as a broader basket. But as
Correct.
a fund house, we need to pick up opportunities, mega trends in consumption which are growing faster. Now, in terms of potential things that can change the outlook of a positive outlook on consumption, from here on, we can be more positive if there is a lot more job opportunities that are created in India, because ultimately it's the income growth which drives consumption. Right? So ultimately, the demographic dividend that we talk about, the young population that we talk about, should have employment. I think that is one single big risk. If does not play out, consumption thing won't play out. Right? So it is extremely important that job creation is a focus area for the government. Exports do well so that there is an income growth, and that income growth will drive a lot of consumption in a country which is relatively young compared to the world, and an aspirational society who want to every one of us wants to improve their quality of life here. Nobody wants to deteriorate their quality in fact, nobody wants to be poor. Everybody wants to be rich and consume better.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So if everything falls in place and the demographic dividend of the country plays out, this is the theme to be in.
Yeah. So, sir, actually, the last request from my side would be if you can draft a sales pitch for all our colleagues and our partners, that would be great.
Sure. So consumption is something is very, very relatable. I think everybody relates to it. It is great to benefit from consumption which is happening around us, including us who are consuming. It is a great time to be in consumption, appears to be at contrarian, but contrarian often gets you a lot of reward. From a 3 years perspective, these companies in consumption are high quality companies with great cash flows and great balance sheets and great brands. So it's a great time to own these companies when they're attractively valued vis-a-vis their own history. And being a little contrarian can make you a lot of return, right? So it is great to own brands that you want to own as a consumer. You should own them as an investors also, right? So it's a great portfolio of and a great time to own certain brands which you want to own as a consumer. Try to own them as an investor. That's the pitch.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very precise, very crisp, and really clear. So, thank you. Thank you once again, Saurabh, for guiding us through the Bajaj Finserv Consumption NFO presentation. Your insights on the fund strategy and potential within the consumption theme were incredibly valuable for us. And definitely, we appreciate your time and expertise in helping us understand this new offering. And I would also like to basically extend a thank to your team as well for coordinating this amazing NFO meet with you. So I think I would like to thank all our partners mainly for listening and carefully learning everything with you. So thank you once again for
Thank you,
being a
JM
patient
team, for
listener.
inviting us and
Thank
giving
you.
us this opportunity. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward for many such interactions ahead.
Bye.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, team. Thank you, all our partners once again. Thank you.